My wife used me to start her dream boutique, then cheated. So I shut it down, took back my funds, and she lost everything overnight. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and for most of my life I thought I was good at spotting people's true intentions. I was the type who kept to himself, worked hard, didn't party much, and never cared about flash. So when I met Danny, I thought I had finally found someone cut from the same cloth. She worked at a mid-tier clothing store and always wore the same 2 cardigans, usually with her hair tied in a loose bun. There was this calm, no-nonsense energy about her that made me feel safe. She didn't chase status. She talked about wanting to build a quiet little empire, her dream boutique, where she'd design pieces with soul instead of chasing fast fashion. The way her eyes lit up when she spoke about it, I believed every word. Our dates were simple. Coffee shops. Walks through vintage markets. She made me feel like money didn't matter, like I could just be me. And for a guy who was pouring most of his income into savings and student loans, that felt like a miracle. One night after 3 months of dating, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't care how long it takes. I just want to build something real. With someone real." I still remember how her hand felt in mine when she said it. Soft, steady, like home. By the time we got married a year later, I was convinced I had hit the jackpot. A woman who didn't want Gucci or constant vacations, just a shot at something honest. I loved her for it, but I didn't know that underneath that cardigan and calm voice. Danny was watching, calculating, waiting for the perfect time to turn my belief in her into a tool for her own gain. About a year into our marriage, Danny started talking more seriously about the boutique. We were sitting on the couch, eating takeout like we usually did on Fridays, and she casually said, "I've been thinking about finally starting it. The boutique. Maybe now's the time." I looked at her, half surprised but genuinely excited for her. "Really? You think we're ready for that?" She smiled, pulled her legs under her on the couch, and leaned into me. "I mean, with your savings and my ideas, don't you think we could do something special together?" I'd been squirreling away money for years, working overtime, skipping vacations, buying secondhand furniture for our apartment. That nest egg wasn't just for me. I imagined it for our future, a house, kids someday, freedom. But in that moment, I felt like maybe this was the future, helping the woman I loved build something she'd dreamed of for years. So I said yes. We started looking at small retail spaces. Danny would get giddy walking through old storefronts, talking about what she'd do with the walls, where she'd hang the custom signage. I felt like her partner. She called me her investor, even joked that I was her silent CEO. The boutique was registered in her name. She said it was just easier that way for branding. I didn't mind. I trusted her completely. We took out a personal loan in my name to cover some of the startup costs. I didn't even blink. She told me we were a team, that she couldn't do this without me, and I believed her. But now, when I think back on the way she kept saying, "my boutique," not our boutique, I realize she was never planning to share anything. Not the profits, not the credit, not the future. The first few months after opening the boutique were hectic but exciting. Danny was working around the clock, and I was right there with her, coding her website, managing spreadsheets, staying up late to help her sort through supplier quotes. We'd go to sleep exhausted but proud. At least I thought we were. By month 6, something shifted. She stopped asking for my input. At first it was little things, like changing the store logo I designed without telling me. Then came bigger moves. She started hiring people without consulting me, signing off on deals that didn't make financial sense, and brushing off any questions I asked with, "You just don't get the fashion industry." Babe, the boutique was doing well, like really well. Local influencers were tagging the shop on Instagram. A lifestyle blogger did a feature. Sales tripled in the second quarter, and with every milestone, Danny glowed brighter and pulled further away. One night, I overheard her on the phone with a friend saying, "Honestly, I built this from scratch. No handouts, just hard work." I was standing in the hallway holding a mug of chamomile tea I had made for her. My chest went cold. A handout? Was that what she thought this was? I confronted her gently. "Hey, do you really think you built this on your own?" She didn't even flinch. "Well, yeah. I mean, I'm the one running the store. You helped financially, sure, but that's not the same as building it." That sentence burned into me. I didn't say anything back. I just nodded. Let it slide. But inside, something cracked. This wasn't just her dream anymore, it was her identity. And there wasn't room for me in it. After that night, I started paying closer attention, and I noticed just how methodically Danny was locking me out of everything. Asked her once if I could take a look at the books, just to make sure we were staying on track with loan payments and taxes. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're not my accountant, babe. Don't stress yourself with all that." Then, she kissed me on the cheek and walked off. Like it was nothing, except it wasn't nothing. I had poured over $60,000 into that boutique between my savings and the loan I was still making monthly payments on. But every time I brought up profits, expenses, or even simple inventory tracking, she'd either brush it off or change the subject. One day I came home early and found her in the office with a man I didn't recognize, some guy with a clipboard and a tablet. When I asked who he was, she said, "Oh, he's just helping me restructure the back-end stuff. You wouldn't be interested." Wouldn't be interested? That was my money keeping those lights on. My money paying that man. I started feeling like a stranger in my own investment. Like I was sponsoring someone else's career with zero transparency. She was making all the decisions, all the moves, acting like I was just some passive investor who should be grateful to be allowed into her orbit. And the crazy thing? She was still sweet to me. Still made dinner sometimes. Still kissed me goodnight. But that sweetness started to feel like sedation. Like she was pacifying me while slowly cutting me out. And for a while, I let her because love makes you stupid. And I wasn't ready to believe what my gut already knew. It happened on a Wednesday night. Danny was in the shower, humming to herself like everything was perfect. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, and for once it was face up. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. But the preview lit up the screen and I froze. "Last night was incredible. Let me know when I can taste you again." I stared at the words, my mind rejecting them. It didn't even register at first, like my brain short-circuited. Then the second notification came in. "Same time next week? I'll bring the wine." I felt this cold, hollow drop in my stomach. Not anger. Not yet, just numb disbelief. I took a screenshot and emailed it to myself, hands shaking. I knew if I confronted her empty-handed, she'd spin it, cry, deflect. Danny could weaponize guilt like no one else I'd ever met. Later that night, I waited until she fell asleep peacefully, like she wasn't gutting our marriage from the inside out. I unlocked her phone with the code I still remembered. She'd stopped offering it months ago and went into her messages. Dozens of texts, flirty, sexual, detailed, and it wasn't just one guy, but one name kept popping up. Rico, I dug deeper and saw calendar invites. Payment receipts. This man wasn't just some fling. He was a vendor, a supplier she'd brought in a few months ago. I'd even met him once briefly at her store. He shook my hand like I was the janitor. I sat there, in the dim light of our bedroom, phone in hand, staring at a reality I didn't want to believe. She wasn't just cheating. She was doing business with the guy. On my dime. And that night, something inside me flipped from hurt to strategy. The next morning, I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I just waited. Waited until she sat down at the kitchen table with her matcha latte like she always did, scrolling through her phone like she hadn't detonated our marriage the night before. I slid my own phone across the table. The screenshots were open. She glanced down, then looked up. Blinked once. "What is this?" she asked flatly, like I'd handed her spam mail. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "You tell me." She stared at it, then let out this short, sharp exhale and said, "You went through my phone?" I laughed. I actually laughed. "That's what you're going with? That's the violation here?" She pushed the phone back. "It's not what you think." I tilted my head. "Really? Because it looks like you've been screwing a guy you also pay to supply your boutique. A guy whose invoices, by the way, are about double what that service should cost." Her face changed at that. The panic flickered, quickly smothered. "It's not like that. I was just lonely. You've been so distant lately. I swear to God, I almost threw my mug through the wall." "Me distant? You've been cutting me out of everything, Danny. Everything. I funded this whole damn thing, and you act like I'm a guest in my own life." She stood up, went cold again. "I don't need this right now." I watched her walk away. She didn't apologize. She didn't beg. She retreated like a CEO dealing with a PR issue, and right then I knew this wasn't about a fling. This was about power. She thought she'd built enough leverage to discard me. But what she didn't know? I wasn't done collecting receipts. The moment she walked out that door, I stopped being a husband and became a man on a mission. I knew the boutique ran through a shared cloud folder, set up when I built her website. She didn't know I still had back-end access. She thought I was too hurt to act. She underestimated just how dangerous a quiet man with time and betrayal in his chest could be. That night, I poured a drink, sat down at my computer, and started digging. It didn't take long. There were dozens of invoices from Rico's company, Luck Supply Co., and every single one was padded. Items listed at double market value, suspicious service charges, vague consulting fees. One invoice had a $9,800 charge labeled only as VIP coordination. What the hell even was that? Then came the kicker. Several large withdrawals from our joint account labeled inventory expansion, but none of those products showed up in her catalog or receipts. Just vanished. I cross-referenced dates, amounts, and bank transfers. I built a spreadsheet, timestamps, file names, even matching her messages with payment logs. It wasn't just infidelity anymore, it was theft. Strategic, organized, paper-trailed theft. And the worst part? I remembered her smile the day she asked for my help. "It'll be our thing," she had said. Now I realized it had never been about us. It was about building something big enough to walk away with, something she could take and say was hers. I backed up every file, every receipt, every shady transaction. Onto a flash drive. I didn't confront her again. I went silent, still calculated. She thought I was broken, but I was just loading the gun, metaphorically speaking, and when I pulled the trigger, it wouldn't just sting. It would obliterate everything she built. I called an old college friend, Jordan, who had gone into corporate law and now worked for a boutique firm downtown. We hadn't spoken in a while, but when I explained the basics over the phone, infidelity, fraud, misuse of marital funds, he told me to come in immediately. We met in a quiet office tucked between glass towers. Jordan didn't waste time on small talk. He skimmed through my drive, his eyes narrowing the more he clicked. "She's siphoning funds and laundering them through inflated vendor relationships," he said flatly. "If that vendor's her affair partner, even better. This could hit on criminal misappropriation." My heart pounded. "So what do I do?" He leaned back, fingers laced behind his head. "You don't breathe a word to her. You gather everything, paper trails, timelines, statements. We hit her all at once, civil suit for the money, asset freeze on the boutique, and if we push it, maybe criminal fraud charges." I swallowed hard. "Won't that destroy her?" He didn't even blink. "She's already destroying you, man." That line landed like a hammer. And suddenly, I saw it clearly. The boutique, the lies, the emotional manipulation, the smug silence when I confronted her. It was all a strategy. I'd been nothing but a launch pad. The funding, the foundation, the footnote, but not anymore. We made a plan. Quiet, thorough, strategic. He had a forensic accountant go through the financials. I signed paperwork to initiate the freeze process through the courts. We'd serve her after securing the motion, and just like that, the tide started to turn. She was still strutting around like a rising star. Still posting motivational quotes and girl boss captions. Still sleeping next to me with her phone face down. She had no idea. No clue that I'd already started pulling threads. And soon, the whole thing would unravel, fast. After meeting with Jordan, everything changed, but only on the inside. Outwardly, I became the perfect husband again. Supportive, quiet, even proud. Your pop-up event looked amazing, I'd say, kissing her on the forehead after she posted a new reel. I started bringing her coffee to the boutique, dropping off lunch like some doting side character. She thought I was falling back in line, that I had accepted my place, out of the spotlight, out of the way. But every fake smile I gave her, every compliment I forced out was calculated. Every gesture bought me time while the legal machine spun into motion behind the scenes. Her boutique had become everything to her. She barely referred to it by name anymore, just called it my brand. It wasn't just a business. It was her identity, her power, her leverage. And the bigger it grew, the more reckless she got. She hosted a launch party for a second location, rented a luxury rooftop, hired a live band, even got a minor influencer to show up. She gave a toast that night, holding a glass of overpriced champagne, eyes shining under fairy lights. "This boutique is proof that women can build from nothing," she said to a round of applause. Nothing. I stood in the back, jaw clenched, pretending to laugh at something on my phone. She didn't just erase me. She rewrote the whole story, and I let her, because I wanted her comfortable. I needed her blind. She had no clue that court documents had already been filed, that a financial investigation was underway, that her accounts were being flagged, that her dream was about to hit a wall, one she'd never see coming. I wasn't just taking my money back. I was taking everything. 2 weeks after her rooftop launch party, I got a text from a mutual friend, Jen, someone who used to work with Danny at her retail job before the boutique days. "Hey, just heard from someone in Danny's circle. Is it true she's buying you out of the business?" I stared at the screen, my stomach dropping. Buying me out? I was never officially listed on the LLC, but the boutique was funded almost entirely with my money. And now she was trying to erase that paper trail? I played it cool. "Oh, really?" "That's news to me," I replied. Jen sent a screenshot, an Instagram story from one of Danny's newer staff. In it, Danny's holding a glass of rosé, laughing with some middle-aged guy in a blazer. The caption, "Big meetings for the next chapter." Power moves. That's when it clicked. She was courting an investor, someone who could give her enough capital to officially cut me out. She wanted to replace me financially the same way she had emotionally. I immediately called Jordan. She's trying to cover her tracks, accelerate everything. Within 72 hours, we submitted the final batch of evidence. Tax documents, timestamps, account withdrawals, all of it. Jordan filed a motion to freeze her business assets, while our lawsuit for financial fraud processed. The judge approved it. It meant her boutique accounts would be inaccessible. Payments would bounce. Payroll would halt. Vendors would go unpaid. The paperwork was in motion. She didn't know it yet. I sat across from her at dinner that night. She was babbling about new fabric samples, completely unaware that within days, her empire would start to crumble. She thought she was securing her future. She didn't realize I'd already struck the match, and the fire was spreading fast. The irony? I never even got to make the first move. 3 days after the asset freeze was approved, before I had the chance to break the news, Danny served me with divorce papers. I came home from work, tossed my keys on the counter like always, and there they were. A manila envelope placed neatly on the kitchen table. Next to it was a handwritten note on one of her boutique thank you cards. "I think we've both known for a while this marriage has run its course. I'm choosing peace. I hope you will too." Peace? She took my savings, my trust, my time, and now she wanted to call it peace. I sat there in silence for what felt like hours. The apartment felt smaller than usual, claustrophobic. The smell of her vanilla candles still lingered, but everything else felt hollow. I didn't cry. I didn't yell, I just broke. There was no apology, no explanation, just a cold, calculated exit, like closing a deal and walking away with a handshake. She even had the audacity to request no alimony, no dispute, like she was doing me a favor by leaving clean. But here's the thing she didn't realize. She filed first. But I had everything. The financial records, the proof of the affair, the misappropriation of marital funds, and now? The divorce just gave me a legal path to unleash it all. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid on the couch staring at the ceiling, mentally replaying every moment of our relationship. From the first coffee date to the last time she lied, straight to my face. She thought she'd ended the story, but she'd only lit the fuse, and I was about to watch her boutique blow sky high. 2 days after she served me, I walked into court with Jordan by my side and the weight of every lie she ever told pressing down on my chest like armor. We filed a formal lawsuit for financial fraud, breach of marital fiduciary duty, and misappropriation of shared assets. I signed an affidavit detailing every payment I made to the boutique, from the seed capital to the fake invoices. We submitted screenshots of her messages with Rico, documents showing inflated supplier costs, and bank transfers that conveniently matched her so-called inventory purchases. The judge barely blinked before granting the freeze extension, this time hitting all boutique-related accounts, including the vendor payouts and credit lines. Within 48 hours, everything Danny had built was stuck in legal limbo. I didn't tell her. I let the silence speak. The fallout began the next morning. Danny stormed into my apartment like a wildfire in heels. I was sitting at the table sipping coffee when she flung the door open. Her eyes were red, mascara smeared, hair in a panic bun. She held her phone in one hand, shaking. "What the hell did you do?" My payroll bounced. "My vendor accounts are locked. My launch shipment's delayed and my staff is threatening to quit." I looked up calmly. "Oh, I thought we were both choosing peace." That set her off. She screamed, cursed, called me vindictive, small, petty. I said nothing. She begged next. Asked me to be reasonable, said I was ruining everything she worked for. And still, I said nothing, because this wasn't revenge. It was justice. She built her boutique on stolen bricks and thought I'd never tear it down. She walked out sobbing, but this time I didn't follow. I just watched the door close. By the end of that week, the silence from Rico was deafening, and that's when I knew the dominoes were really starting to fall. Danny must have called him dozens of times. I know because I saw the call logs later in the court discovery files, but he never picked up. Not once. This man who used to send her thirsty texts and business advice at 2 a.m. ghosted her the second the boutique hit turbulence. One of her assistants even mentioned that Rico had dropped off a few boxes of inventory midweek, muttered something about not wanting to be involved in drama, and peeled out of the parking lot without saying goodbye. The guy vanished like he'd never existed. Danny tried to save face online. She posted a statement on her boutique's Instagram. "Due to unexpected operational delays, our store will be temporarily closed for restructuring. We appreciate your patience," comments poured in, confused customers, influencers asking about unpaid collaborations. Her silence only made it worse. She turned off the comments by the end of the day. The brand she'd curated so carefully, this polished, self-made woman image, started unraveling in real time. Collaborators pulled out. One of her vendors shared a passive-aggressive story saying, "Always read the fine print." Screenshots of our lawsuit started floating around in small business circles. I got texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some curious, some saying they always knew something felt off about her. I didn't reply to any of them. Meanwhile, Danny was spiraling. She called once, just once, around midnight. I let it ring. The voicemail was short. Just a soft, broken voice whispering, "Please call me back." I didn't. She'd made her choices. Now she was watching them collapse. One ignored call, one bounced payment, one burnt bridge at a time. Within 3 weeks, the boutique that once sparkled with curated lighting, fresh eucalyptus candles, and motivational quote walls was gutted, literally and legally. I drove past it one afternoon. The windows were bare. A for lease sign was taped crookedly on the glass. The paint was still fresh from her last rebranding, but it already looked haunted. Like a dream that died mid-sentence, her second location never launched. The investor she had been wooing backed out once he caught wind of the legal mess. Her staff either quit or stopped showing up after weeks of unpaid wages and empty promises. Even the influencer crowd, those picture-perfect collaborators she once bragged about, went silent, some of them even scrubbing her tags from their profiles. And Danny? She filed a request to delay the divorce proceedings, cited emotional distress, claimed she needed more time to organize documents. I saw right through it. She wasn't stalling to process emotions. She was stalling to survive. The court didn't buy it. They pushed forward. Eventually, the judge ruled in my favor. She was ordered to repay over $85,000 in misappropriated funds, plus damages. It was poetic, really. The same woman who once laughed off my budgeting spreadsheets now drowning in court fees and debt. I heard through mutual contacts that she sold her car. Moved back in with her mom in a neighborhood she used to mock as too basic. She shut down all her social media accounts. Vanished from the spaces she once dominated. She tried texting me once more, this time not to apologize but to negotiate. She offered a clean break if I dropped the repayment order. Said it wasn't worth the drama. I never answered, because she was right about one thing. It wasn't worth the drama, but it was worth the silence, and watching her sit in it was the loudest closure I've ever known. After everything, after the court rulings, the frozen accounts, the broken texts, I finally exhaled. It was like I'd been holding my breath for 3 years and didn't even know it. I moved into a smaller place across town. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. No trendy wall art, no designer throw pillows, just quiet. Clean counters, peace. I canceled the joint credit cards, paid off the remaining loan she left me with, and went back to doing freelance IT projects. I didn't jump into anything big. I didn't rush to bounce back. I just focused on sleeping through the night again, on eating real meals, on remembering what it felt like to live without tiptoeing, and slowly, I started consulting again. This time for small businesses that actually valued transparency. Funny, right? The guy who got screwed over helping others not get screwed. There were days I felt bitter. Still do sometimes. There's this one morning that stands out. I was walking past a farmer's market downtown and I saw a young couple setting up a handmade jewelry booth. They looked tired, sweaty, full of hope. I froze. That used to be us, I thought, but then I realized, no, that was never us. That was just me, projecting a dream onto someone who never truly believed in it. Danny never wanted a partner. She wanted a platform and I gave it to her. But now everything I build is mine, built from real experience, real pain, real healing. And when people ask me if I'd ever love again, I tell them this. Yeah, maybe. But next time, I'll love like an investor who reads every contract, especially the fine print written in behavior. Sometimes I think people expect a story like mine to end with revenge porn. A mic drop, a smug smirk as I walk away from the flames. But that's not what this is. This isn't about revenge. It's about respect for myself. For the man I used to be. For the version of me that bent over backwards to build someone else's dream, not realizing I was erasing my own in the process. The truth is, I still carry some of it with me. Not the anger, but the echoes. Every time someone thanks me for being reliable, I flinch a little. Because I was reliable once and it almost destroyed me. Every time I see a new Boss Babe brand pop up online, I feel that bitter tug in my chest. Not because I hate ambition, but because I know what fake ambition looks like. I lived with it. I financed it. But despite everything Danny took from me, she gave me something too. She taught me how to stop mistaking potential for loyalty. How to stop calling silence peace. How to trust my instincts, especially when they whisper instead of scream. I've started dating again. Slowly, cautiously. Not because I'm looking to fill a gap, but because I'm finally full enough on my own that I don't need anyone else to make me feel whole. If you're reading this, and you've ever been used, manipulated, minimized, I hope you know you're not weak for loving someone who hurt you. You're just human. But healing, rebuilding, reclaiming your voice, that's strength. And as for Danny, she built her empire on borrowed bricks and lies. I just removed the foundation. The rest came crashing down all by itself.